Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon or good evening wherever you may be. It is time for another geeky review type video from us, the Just Connect team, or albeit from me, CJ, as the other half is busy doing something else. Anyway, today we are going to get a hands-on review of the Acer Iconia B1. It's a budget tablet, it's a 7-inch tablet, and yeah, we're going to take a look at it. Are you excited? I'm excited. Should I bring you in closer so that you can see what it's all about? Okay then, I'll do that. So as I've said, the Acer Iconia B1 is actually the first of the B range from Acer, and as I said, it's a budget tablet, which means that it's more towards the area of €100 rather than the 200 to 300 you'll pay for a decent tablet, or even the 500 that you would pay for a iPad. So it's reasonably affordable. It's a 7-inch tablet and it doesn't weigh very much, which means I can actually hold it with one hand, and that I find difficult to do with bigger 10-inch, 10.1 inch tablets. So this is quite nice. It's not very thick, as you can see. It's kind of ebook reader quality size standards. It has a plastic back, which actually sounds, I've never done that before, actually sounds really tacky, but when I hold it in my hands it doesn't feel like that. It feels solid and it feels sturdy. So it's not something that feels like it's about to break the second you drop it. It's, as I said before, a 7-inch tab that's from diagonal, but the screen resolution is actually 1024 by 600 pixels, which is, I don't know, about 18 centimeters or something like that. The measurement is in diagonal. I don't know how you work, but anyway, that's what the specs tell me. It has a 0.3 megapixel front-facing camera on the front side. There's the Acer logo in the middle. It kind of looks like a giant phone, this, doesn't it, really? And for the rest, there's nothing else on the front of the device at all. There is also nothing on the left-hand side of the device. On the right-hand side of the device, you will find the power button at the top, and then there's a volume rocker. At the top of the device, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack. At the bottom of the device, if I can flip it without dropping it, there's a mini USB type connection for loading and connecting it to the computer. There's no camera on the back, which some people will find a down point. I've read reviews that this isn't very nice to not have a camera on the back, but personally I don't understand that, because what are you going to do, whip this out of your pocket and start Instagramming with it? No, I think I would look a bit silly doing that, and plus it's only a Wi-Fi model, it doesn't work on 3G, so I'm not exactly going to take it to the middle of the city and start Instagramming with this thing, because that doesn't work. We need to turn it on, and it will probably take a while to boot up. While I let it boot up, I can tell you that it is running on Android Ice Cream Sandwich. I can also tell you that it has a 1.2 gigahertz, oh, it is booting up. It has a 1.2 gigahertz dual core processor, and it has 512 megabytes of RAM. That's not the best for a tablet like this, but then if you're getting something this size, I don't expect that you'll be doing gaming on it. You'll take it more for interneting and reading. It has a 8GB storage capacity. There's no other options, it only comes in the 8GB, but it does have a SD card slot somewhere inside it. I have no idea where, but it does have a SD card slot so that you can put a micro SD in there, up to 32 gigabytes I believe, so you can expand the storage, and that is pretty awesome. This is the tab that Jessy uses, and I have used this before and had it for myself, and I'm used to holding it in portrait. I've not turned this on since Jessy's had it, and I'm used to holding it in portrait mode, because that's how this thing is arranged. and she has it set up so that it works in landscape mode. So let's see if I can figure out how Jessy's tab is gonna work for us. I think it does 5 home screens, and you can just slide through them easily like you can with any normal Android device. I have no idea what for widgets she has on her home screen, and I'm not going to go through that because it's her personal stuff. It, as I said, is running Android ice cream sandwich, and I'm going to have to keep pulling the tab away from you guys so that I can see what I'm doing, because she has the small setting on this, and I can't see them unless I look really, really close. So it's really going to be difficult for me. On this tab, which is a downside to this tab, there's a Google search bar at the top of the screen, or in Jessy's case at the side of the screen, and it does not go away. You cannot drag it and drop it into the recycle bin like you can normally with any other widget that's on your home screen. So that's one down point to this tab. The other down point to this tab for me personally is that it doesn't have a super bright, super colourful screen. So again, for me, it's harder to read. And I've seen complaints and heard complaints about people who find it hard to read because, I don't know if you noticed, but when you tip it, and it's turning as I'm tipping it, but when you tip it, it changes colour and it makes it more difficult to read. So you sort of have to hold it at a certain angle for it to be readable, which for me wasn't really an issue when I was using this tab because of how close I have to hold it to my face. But for people who like to hold it further away, if you don't tilt it in the wrong position, apparently it's really difficult to read. So that's another down point to this tab. Let's think of some good things about it. The size is good, the weight is good, the reaction, the speed that it runs at, considering it's only running at 512 megabytes RAM, I don't actually really notice a difference between this and the big Samsung tab that we have in the house as far as performance. This is the only one thing I've noticed about this tab, is when we open Google Chrome and start browsing the internet. No idea where she visited last, but I would see the pip page. It doesn't. It can lag a bit when it's zooming. It's actually doing quite a good job of zooming in and out right now and scrolling, but it can be really, really laggy and really, really not nice to browse with. Especially if you're, can you kindly stop rotating? Especially if you're searching a website that has a lot of pictures. So that's the only difference I've noticed between this and the Samsung tab, is the browsing experience. For the rest, the apps run fine, and the even some like really light simple games run fine on this. I haven't had a problem with that. So for the size that it is and the fact that it only runs on 512 megabytes of memory, it's a pretty good performer. Let's see what else I can get it to do and what else I can get it to show you. We talk about accessibility a lot with these tabs. This is not the greatest of accessible, I can't talk today guys, it's not the greatest of accessible tabs in the world because of the resolution and because the overall font size of the menus doesn't actually go that big. And you saw S3 in the last video and you saw how big the text was. Jessy will have this of course on the smallest settings, and if I can find the settings button or find something to show you, oh there, I see an apps thing. I don't remember how to use this thing at all. If I can find the settings button, I will show you guys that it's not so super accessible. The menu again is white text on a black background, which is good, but as you can see the text is really small, and that's at its smallest settings, but even at its bigger settings it doesn't go that big and it isn't that great. Using apps like Framecaster, which is a dark version of Facebook, and Yameta, which is a dark version of a Twitter client, they don't go that well for me. One, because the colours seem to be all like grey and grainy, and two, because of the resolution. The text is just not that big and that great. Let's see, how does the keyboard look on this tab? Well, I shall let you know when I can find an application that lets me type. I see and chat right here, and I'm pretty sure that no one is online right now, so we're going to connect to the chat room, and I don't understand how she can read text that small, but okay. We will carry on, and I will tap the keyboard, tap the input bar to show you the keyboard, and again it's a black keyboard with white text on it, so that's pretty easy and pretty useful for those of you who are again visually impaired. That's all very nice and all very good. You can install Go Keyboard on here, but I've noticed when you install Go Keyboard on these tabs, this one I haven't tried in landscape mode. In portrait mode it was fine to use and I had it in a different colour, but in landscape mode on the big tab that we're going to review in another video, you can't see what you're typing. Well, you can, but it brings it up in its own window instead of seeing where you're typing on the screen. Like for example, when I'm typing in a chat room, I like to see the text appearing in the input bar on the chat screen, not in an extra white screen that's being provided by Go Keyboard. So Go Keyboard doesn't work very well on these tabs, or at least not for me. I don't like them. But yeah, for the rest, it's accessible because the standard keyboard is black with white text, so that's really nice. The accessibility options on here, because it's running ice cream sandwich, are not as good. It only really has talkback, which I've tried once or twice, and I find voice really distracting and really irritating, so for me it doesn't work. And there are not any other features on here that you can really use for accessibility. There are no inverted colours, there are no you can't magnify the screen like you can in iOS or something like that, so it only really has talkback, and that's a real down point to this. And the other real, sorry for this Acer, but the other real down point to this is the storage. So for example, you will go to the Play Store and install an application, and you'll do that several times, especially with the games, and after a while it will tell you there's not enough space for you to install any more apps. Of course not, because it's only 8GB storage, right? Yes, right. But the 8GB storage is also divided into sections. For one or other reason they have partitions on this thing, so when you download an app, it downloads in the wrong place. And it downloads in a place where there's only 1GB free for things to be stored. So you need to make sure you know how to move these apps to the external, or it says internal SD card, so to speak, but it's actually the SD card that you put inside your machine, and then the apps run fine. But that's another, it's not really a down point, I guess, because it still makes it still means that the tab works fine, but it's a little bit frustrating and irritating, especially when you're just wanting to use it and it takes a while for you to realise that that's what you have to do to make the tab work to its best capabilities. The reason why I like a tab this size is for ebook reading. I like the invention of ebooks. I like the fact that you can change the colours of ebook readers so that you can read again black background with white text and stuff. And I find that that's a bit awkward to do on a big 10.1-inch tab, which was the reason why we bought this one in the first place. I wanted something light and accessible so that I could read my ebooks. But for the rest, for me, it wasn't accessible. So again, something that Jessy has taken over, because the only thing that I could personally do on it was read my ebooks. And I like to do a lot more with my tab. I tend to replace my computer with my tab, so for me this isn't a good product. It's not the most accessible piece of equipment, and yeah, it isn't very easy to read. But for those of you who like to hold something light, like to hold something that doesn't feel tacky, like to use something that works just for browsing the internet and doing your social media stuff, then it works. Then there's no performance problems, and that's what you want in a tab. And for the just over €100, which is what it costs, I actually think it's well worth the money. So this is the Acer Iconia B1, and yeah, it's a pretty neat tab if you don't have any disabilities like I have. Anyway, that's your Acer, that's your review for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Have you seen one of these and used one of these? Let me know, and we can interact in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.